So this is the drawing, right? I'll show the time lapse. I absolutely adore how this drawing turned out. I wasn't exactly like pulling it off immediately, and I was just kind of like unhappy with it, but I just like kept pushing through. I was like, okay, we'll just keep experimenting. I reached the point where I was like, oh, actually, we're cooking a little bit. So the piano, yeah, it was very bare bones. I wasn't too focused on the piano and how that was gonna look. I was like, I'll just put in all the details later. This is where I was really kind of struggling with this pose. This arm specifically, the foreshortening. There were several iterations of it. That was the first iteration. Yeah, that wasn't good. I don't like how that looks. Here, let me try to foreshorten it a little bit more, make that hand bigger. Even then, I still just, it just didn't look right. It looked off. I was like, oh god, there's not really anything about this Caine as a character that I'm liking in the sketch right now. The teeth were also being really annoying to draw as well, because teeth are like that. I was like, I don't like the jaw shape. I don't like the jaw line, whatever you want to call it. I don't like the hand. Ugh, this is just not turning out how I want it to. There's this line of motion that kind of leads into the piano here that I was trying to get like a bunch of things to follow. So like the jaw line. It's funny to say jaw line in regards to just like his head. I wanted to really make it curved. This was a challenge piece for me to just really try to push like gesturing. So I just try to have this line of action flow into the piano, and then I was trying to like fit everything else to fit into that line of motion. Again, like this arm here, it just wasn't working out. As you can see, I used the warp tool to just kind of widen out the face a little bit, give him more width because jaws are kind of wide. I was like, okay, maybe I like that eye a little bit more, or those eyes a little bit more. I think this was the point. I was like, okay, actually, you know, I'm seeing something there with the face, with the way everything's flowing into each other. Let me just try this arm again, see if I can get something to work. And then what I decided to do, I held my hand up in like a similar position, and I kind of realized that like, oh, why am I making his hand so sideways, like going this direction? If anything, I should be like completing this sort of circle I got going on here. This little mini circle accentuated by the tail coats, by the arms. And so why don't I just continue that circle by just kind of like leading the motion into the fingers? So I rotated the hand. Now it just kind of flows around this area here. Again, line of motion, line of motion. That was the point. I was like, okay, actually, I think I'm cooking a little bit. I did the some little kicky legs. And then the other thing I did, this is a thing I've been doing a lot with anytime I draw objects. So I drew this chair, right? Instead of just drawing like the bench, like a normal bench where it's just like straight lines making it up. Same with the piano as well. Like you can see, I gave the bench sort of this like slight curve to it. So it's not just like a straight up rectangular prism bench. It actually has some like itself a little bit of bounciness to it. Same thing with the piano here. You can see this line for the piano and this line over here, they have just like the slightest sort of curves to them. I give them like just enough, you know, like motion to themselves. So it's not just like a really boring flat object. So now with the bench, this kind of line of action, it's going like so many different directions. So we got this kind of motion. It starts up here. I guess the main focus would be the eyes and the hand. So that's like where your focal point goes to first with the drawing. And then it kind of just like leads you down. And there's this motion with the body. It leads into the bench, or your eyes can also like follow this line specifically into the piano. That's still like, in my opinion, readable. And you can also see I like doing thick line art with thin line art to like emphasize different things as well. So, you know, the thickest line art is around the eyes and the hand and some of the arm there. So I also try to like use line weight thickness to emphasize distance as well. So the closer an object is to the camera, the thicker the lines will be. The farther away the object is to the camera, the thinner the lines will be. So you can see it with the piano as well. On this side, the line art is thicker, but then on the farther side, all the line art is thinner. I wanted to show some other examples of this kind of like curved object, this like kind of new technique I've been doing, I've discovered. This is a good example of like the kind of opposite thing, where instead of a concave line, it's a convex line. I think I'm using those terms correctly. This one is less about line of motion, I would say, than the other one. And this one's more about just kind of emphasizing the coziness of the scene, because it's like, what is this? This is like a marshmallow shape, right? Like you plop down a nice melty marshmallow and it's just kind of like puffy and inflated like that, just to like give this feeling of a softness, a kind of settling, to again emphasize that really cozy vibe. As well, emphasizes kind of the circle of light of the fire, right? It's kind of just like this ring around the fireplace. The curved lines also help emphasize. I don't have any other words to use besides emphasize. Emphasis almost shows that the fire is kind of pushing out, like it's its own kind of force field that's pressing against the fireplace and just creating this more circular effect around everything. It's another example of using like these curved organic shapes for very rigid, very strictly square polygonal structures, right? To just give a bit more personality, I'd say. Another fan art, here's a little tenna from Deltarune. Well, the microphone is a good example of something I kept very rigid, just because I felt like curving it would just kind of look a little weird, and it wouldn't be emphasizing like anything at all if I did curve it. But counterly conversely, that's the word. Conversely, look at this line of motion here. Starts at his head, follows, well, you know, his antennas also accentuate that as well, but follows through down to his body and continues through his legs here. And, I mean, it would have been fine if I just gave him a square TV head, like a perfectly straight, rigid TV head, but I was like, you know, I don't want to do that. I kind of really dislike drawing really rigid shapes. That's one of the problems I have with drawing backgrounds. Specifically, if I'm trying to draw a city, I get really annoyed just trying to draw a bunch of straight lines all the time. I'm just using the ruler tool just to draw out, okay, here's a building here, and it just ends up really rigid looking. Depending on the piece, I tend to not exactly like how it looks, and I don't exactly like the process of drawing them. Drawing like that. With this curved head here, this is a way I found that has made me really enjoy actually drawing more object-based things. Having a little bit fun and having a little bit more freedom with kind of how loosey-goosey I can be. This is the line of motion, this kind of tall C shape here. And how do I emphasize that more? Oh, I make these TV sides curve in the same direction. They parallel the body. They parallel the leg. There's just also this secondary C shape that intersects with the midpoint here about the tie, right? Just a lot of intersecting lines that just, you know, they lead into each other. They help your eye just continuously move throughout the piece. A lot of places to look at, and it's very smooth ways to get to those points, right? I should add the disclaimer as well. Listen, I'm not telling you that this way of drawing objects is wrong. I'm not saying that. You're hearing me say this and you're thinking, you're gonna look at me and tell me I'm wrong?
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong?
Insert meme there. No. This is like a perfectly valid option of drawing objects. I just think this is a fun, different way to look at things. That's like another, you know, tool in your toolbox for using all the elements in your art to make your art better. Give more of the ability to emphasize different aspects of your drawing, to emphasize motion, to emphasize the direction your eye follows throughout the piece. That's just another way to think about it. It's not wrong. Again, sometimes I still just draw like this. I mean, you can see my own comic, right? I just drew like this bookshelf, this table. It's just a straight up table, normal bookshelf. Nothing wrong with that either. But the other way is also more fun to draw.
Am I wrong?